All right, guys. So my name is Prashant, and good morning to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, if you are from different location, different time zone. All right. So I'm here. I'm the host today. I'm the trainer for Docker and Kubernetes, and I'm the SME in this subject. So I will take today's demo session. We'll talk more about Kubernetes and Docker. This demo session is intended to give you as much as information about the courseware, which we are going to cover in Kubernetes as well as in Docker. How we are going to do, what will be our methodology, what philosophy we are going to follow, what will be the recordings, material, lab environment, practicals, right, assignments, all that we are going to discuss in this session. So this is intended only to give you all information related to this course so that you can see how we are going to do, and if we can meet your expectation that you are expecting something from this course, and we will be giving you all the information. At the end, if we miss out any point, at the end we will have a Q&A session. We will cover all your we'll take up your questions, and we'll try to give you as much as information. All right, so we'll discuss all these things. So just sit, relax, understand the things, how we are going to do it, what are things we are going to cover, and then at the end we will take up your question also. All right. So before I begin, let me introduce myself. Hope can you see my screen as well, guys? Can you see my screen? Is that visible?
Yes, yes,
Okay. I
yes.
move to the second slide, my trainer's profile. I hope you can see even the navigation between the slides. Okay. All right. So before we move forward, let me introduce myself. I'm Prashant P. I have around 20 years of experience in IT industry. Basically, I am a working professional. I work for an European client. I'm for a big MNC. And regarding trainings and all that thing, it's been 8 years now, right? So I've been doing a lot of things, and DevOps also, I think it's been like 10 plus now. So I do a lot of things on DevOps, cloud operations, and cloud management, both private and public cloud, now hybrid cloud as well, and so many things, other things, managing all client side. So the benefit over here is I will bring all that experience, right? How the production environment, what is the customer demand, how we set up all the things in the day-to-day activities, and how we help customer to leverage their businesses using this technology. All that experience I will bring here, that would be an advantage. With Visualpath, it's been 5 plus years. I'm doing a lot of trainings with Visualpath, and we do a lot of training for various other things, Docker and Kubernetes, for which I'm the SME here, subject matter expert. Uh, Please go mute, guys. Wherever you want to feel you want to ask something, you can unmute and you can ask, because this session is getting recorded, and we will improve the quality of recording if we avoid the background noise. It's just a humble request. Okay. And so I bring a lot of customer experience. I know various scenarios, production issues, all that thing. So which we'll discuss as and when we touch upon particular point, and I will tell you that this is the thing you need to consider. This is the thing this is the gray area you need to focus more, and how to handle those things. So we'll bring all that thing also, right? Some kind of troubleshooting skills, and Kubernetes and all these things. Certifications are also hands-on experience. There won't be any objective-based questions tomorrow if you are preparing for a certification. Right? We will prepare you for certification as well. All right, so I'll talk more about it. So this is about me. Let's moving on with Docker and Kubernetes. So we'll begin with Kubernetes first, and then we'll jump to the Docker as well. So we'll cover both the topics here. Now this is the course content which will talk about Kubernetes. I'll just skip this slide and I'll focus on few things which will cover these points already. All right, what I'm going to do here, we'll do something in different way, right? Don't worry, we'll cover any of all these things. So what we will do, so basically our course will design on based on certification track. So when you are spending money, when you are spending time, what we are doing is we are building your skill sets as well as we are preparing you for the certification also, so that you need not to focus and invest money and time and again and again. Anyhow, we are doing it, and then we are preparing you for the certification. So what we have done is there are basically three types of certification in Kubernetes, right? One is called CKA, Certified Kubernetes Administration. Another is 𝐾𝐨, which we call as basically it's for application developer. So we say certified Kubernetes application developer. And there's third more, which is added called CKS, which is basically for security professionals. So we say Kubernetes certified security specialist, CKS. Security certificate we are not covering. We are not going to discuss in this thing. We will mostly focusing on these two certificates. All right. So 𝐾𝐾𝐬, already these are hyperlinks. So let me just double click and we can open the links. Back and open both 𝐾𝐾𝐬, which is open, very good, and 𝐾𝐾AD. All right, so I'll talk more about here and then we will understand what we are going to do and how we are going to cover all parts. Okay, I hope you can see my other screen as well. Are you able to see my screen, guys? 𝐾𝐾 screen from Linux Foundation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So some deals are going on. So they always pop with deals. Some deals are going on. They are giving a 40% discount, right? On if you buy the certification and all that thing, they're giving you offer price, which is 40% less, right? This is 𝐶K is certified Kubernetes administrator. All right. So basically, let me go back and then we'll come again. So there are two types of certificates. One is called 𝐶KA, which is very popular and has a lot of value over 𝐶KAD, right? In terms of what? 𝐶KA covers all end to end, right? From your implementation, design, deploy, set up the production environment as a Kubernetes, and then deploy your application, support the application, scale the application end to end, right? As a cloud management or a cloud administrator, we will be orchestrating Kubernetes, right? In a production environment, right? From installation, we'll do configuration, setting up the environment, then bring the application, do the monitoring, right? Scale the application, manage the traffic, and ultimately it is basically our production environment where the customer is expected, where he would be running his application. So it is basically an end to end. So we always prefer to go with 𝐶KA. All right, and we will prepare you for that as well. If somebody is coming with a programming background or as a developer and he want to limit himself to a developer itself, he doesn't want to go into the cloud management or administration or managing the infra, setting the environment, or basically end to end. His focus is only development. Basically, they go for application developer. Application developer is basically slightly less critical application, not that challenging, but less challenging. And here people should keep in mind that while building or while coding the application, what things should be kept in mind while designing the application itself so that it can fit into a Kubernetes environment. So they have to think from the Kubernetes perspective. Okay, this is the thing. They have to program their application in such a way that it should be orchestrated by Kubernetes. So they will be understanding all the nuances, semantics of Kubernetes and keeping that in mind, and they'll be designing the application towards Kubernetes thing. So here we will discuss all about Kubernetes 𝐶KAD, right? But here in this course, we always go with a full package, which is 𝐶KA. 𝐶KA also covers the developer part, right? Not in detail that teach me the coding, how I will do Java application and then Spring Boot framework and how can I build the application. We will cover that part in Docker. Docker is basically all logical thing where you have to build the application, and Kubernetes is a platform where you have to deploy the application. Kubernetes cannot create any containers or any applications. Kubernetes is just a platform. All right. So you have to create your application in a container format using Docker, which we'll talk more in detail. So here, don't get confused. We will focus on 𝐶KA, which is more valuable, little challenging also, and it will be give you more edge. If I compare both the certificates, 𝐶KAs have a more value. All right, which covers everything. All right, so which will go about 𝐶KA. Now, what we are going to cover in 𝐶KA and 𝐶KAD, right? Let me tell you that as well. That is why I opened the official link so that you guys should not get confused. All right, if I put it in my slide, then you think that okay, I am missing something. Oh, so and this is the latest thing, and we also upgrade our course curriculum or the courseware based on this certification. So basically, this is Certified Kubernetes Administration, and normally we say 𝐶KA as a shortcut. Right? This is the logo. If you are certified, you will be certified with the directly from the Linux Foundation, who's managing this. Basically, it's a CNCF organization, Cloud Native Cloud Foundation organization. So basically, if you buy, every prices they charge in dollars. So basically, you see a dollar price, which is only for exam, no training, nothing, only for exam. All right. Now, let's say if you take this certification today with a discount price, which they are already announced here, and it is valid for next year. Sorry, next day, one more day, right? So 1 day and 20 hours. I think till Sunday end, India INR, we can just take this benefit. Now, if we take this thing, this is something extra which they charge for course plus this, but this is only recorded videos they will provide. There won't be any instructor-led training or a lab kind of thing where the instructor will clarify your doubts. That is not there. That is why the Visualpath is there who will cover this part for you. Now, when you take this certificate, right, with a $395 minus 40% discount, which is currently going on. So this would be the price. It will come around 245 or 265 somewhere. Now, what all things will be covered? Let's understand, then we will talk about all the course and everything, right? How we are going to do it. So I will go to the left hand side a little more later, but let me give you what all things are covered here. Because we are going to uh, complete the 𝐶𝐾𝐫 in our Kubernetes complete training environment, covering all these topics, certification topics we will cover, and we'll prepare you for that. So once you do it, so basically certification is online. You need not to go anywhere. You can book the exam and then you can write the exam. There are some compatibility tests which they will do on your laptop, that your laptop should be compatible, right, to take this exam, because they will be running some softwares, there will be some camera, then there some proctor will be sitting. Proctor means a guy who would be monitoring you while writing the exam. He will be monitoring you continuously for the next 2 hours so that you can take this exam online, right? So you need not to go anywhere. You have to open the camera, and the camera will be all the time open, and there will be a guy who will be monitoring you, right? So it would be a fully trustworthy exam. You no cheating, nothing, and they will ask you to rotate the camera also in around your room, across the room, so that they are satisfied, and then they will load the exam for you. And in case while in the journey of your exam of 2 hours, in case you need any support, that guy will be helping you. So there will be a chat window, and you can talk to him. He can intervene, and he can help you. All right, all that we will talk. So purely it's an online model. So don't worry about it. It's purely online. And we have already tested in the COVID, right? Whole world was shut down and we were locked down in our homes. And then still the world was running, right? How? Through the virtual things, through the technology of online. We were supporting the things. We were ordering the food, medicines, right? Even the water, basic amenities, everything. Same way, now we are on the online platform in this era. So the duration of this exam would be 2 hours. That is for sure. Earlier, the duration of 𝐶𝐾 was 3 hours. The old folks, if you know about 𝐶𝐾A, as I said, it's a slightly challenging because it's an end-to-end. So the duration was 3 hours, but now it's reduced to 2 hours. They have reduced slightly. They make this exam a healthier thing so that everybody can pass this exam and get certified. So that's the objective. So they have reduced few things. Now it is 2 hours instead of 3 hours, which is a good thing. Certification is valid for three years only, right? This you might be wondering that why only 3 years, right? The goal is not to make money, take more and more money every 3 years from you. It is not the goal. The goal here is basically they think that technology will change every three years, and it's a constant. Nothing is constant, right? So we are in a paradigm world. So they feel that the technology will again change after 3 years. So you should upgrade yourself, right? So normally what happens once you are certified, right, and you can keep the certificate also. If you switch the job also, if somebody asks you, though it is expired, but you can still produce the certificate, right? So upgrade means not everything will be changed. Few things will be changed, not everything. The base version will always be there. So they also feel that you should upgrade your things, right, by upgrading the technology, because technology is not going to be constant, so that you can also do a rewriting of certification and get certified in the latest version. So all that the thought process is that, and it will be valid only for 3 years, because we are also sure that the technology will change. Now, once you take the subscription, the eligibility of the subscription is 12 months. That means if you purchase today this certificate by paying this much amount, right? If you pay, this will be basically valid for next 12 months. So today's date, right, 25th of November, it will be valid till 24th November 2024. All right, so it will be valid for. So that means you can take up this exam anytime between this 1 year, right? So this is valid for 12 months. You can take up anytime. Today you are prepared. Let's say you are enrolled for this Visualpath. We are preparing for certification. You can take it next month, right? Or maybe in the yeah, once we finish the course, give the gap of 3 to 4 weeks. You go through each and everything. Prepare yourself. How you prepare that I will tell you. Right? Don't worry about it. We have mock tests. We have labs. Everything, so we can do it. And we have the simulation lab. Simulation means the prototype of exam labs. How you will face the exam. What kind of question would be asked? How will you switch between the lab and the questions and the screen and the complete exam program? So all that we already have a simulation, right? So that will be there so that you can practice it. So it is valid for 12 months, right? Don't plan at the end and you forget the date and the subscription already expired and you just go and sending emails over emails saying that, okay, hey, I have not even attempted one and my subscription over. Can you give me some grace period, this, that? They will not listen, right? So just adhere, remember the dates. Normally, we should not forget. So mark it in your calendar. Now, one retake is free. This is the beauty of this course. One retake means once you pay this price of $395, this price, right? They will not ask you for if you fail in the first attempt. Retake means 1+1. All right, retake means 1+1. If you fail the first exam, retake is free. That means they will not ask you for the money again. That means 1+1. If you pass the exam in first go, forget the second attempt because you are already certified. No need to rewrite the exam again. Forget it because you are already certified. But let case, unfortunate, right? Right? God forbid, nobody will fail in the first attempt. Everybody will succeed in the first attempt itself. But God forbid, in case, right? If we if we are not able to do well and we somehow we miss by some marks and we fail the first attempt, what we can do? These guys they'll give you a free chance. That is called free retake. All right. So one retake is given free of cost, right? That means 1+1. There are two chances to clear the certificate, right? That is the end goal. So this is the beauty of this thing, right? So try to finish in first attempt. In case if you don't, then take few more weeks gap. Don't take long time. Otherwise you will forget the things, right? Out of mind is out, right? Out of sight, right? So you will start forgetting the things. So plan your things so that you can reattempt and you can clear the exam. So one retake is free. So it's basically 1+1. So don't worry about that. They are charging more money and they are not giving anything. They are giving something, at least something valuable, which is one retake free. All right, everything they will give you PDF certificate and everything will be a digital, right? So you will get a PDF as your certificate file and they'll give you a link for verification validation, right? So everything is digitalized. So they will give you your certificate number. Just go and enter your number and get validated. Tomorrow, if you switch the job and the next employer or the HR, some normally the HR people or they want to verify your credentials. If they want to ask you, you can submit the link and your ID, they can also verify it. So everything is digitalized, managed by online, and they can also get verified that okay, you are certified or not. They will just go and just do all that thing. All right. So now all these are authenticated. All right. So this is how we will also get our CK certified in a PDF, and it would be our digital badge. Digital badge means they'll give you some digital badge. It's again a digital thing. That logo you can put it on your CV, right? That is the badge. You can attach the badge with your CV and you can upload your CV on wherever the job portal you are, if you're seeking for a new job or new opportunities, right? You just apply it. Now what happens is all the big players, right? They even the scrutiny while shortlisting the candidate's profile, not even speaking a word before that, whenever they want to collect the CVs from the portals or some the job portals, what they do, they always go with a certified professional. So this badge will help you, right? While scrutinizing the profiles, this badge will help you that your profile will also be part of their job search so that it will be selected. All right. So this will help you, and that is the whole logic behind this part. Software version, this is the Kubernetes version 1.28, right? Basically, the base version is 1.2, and then they keep on changing, right? So keep on changing. So like that, like that, like that. So 8 means the 8th month, right? So it was updated in the month of September, not September, August end, right? So that is the version which we have. And slightly they change, not much. Base version is still 1.2. Now this exam is purely a performance based. It's not an objective based. Objective means they will give you 4 options and they'll tell you that okay, select best of the best, and you just out of 4 you will just click one and your answer will be selected. That is called objective. But here they are asking about performance. Performance means it's basically a scenario based. They'll give you one scenario where the application is not running or the environment is not running, something is missing. So if you have the hands-on experience and all that thing, just go and correct the things and rerun the things, and it should be in a working condition. Then only will be assigned marks. Normally they give the marks for the steps also, right? If you're the end result, the final result is not, you are not able to run the application, you are not able to correct that particular scenario, they will give you the marks of the steps also because it's a purely a performance based. So it's not like objective, right? If you get 0 marks, if you have not give the qualified answer, you will get 0 marks, and if you give the correct answer, you get the full mark. It is not like that. All right, performance based. So normally there will be 17 to 18 questions, all scenario based. Right, few questions are very simple, but all are interconnected. right? Two to three questions will be interconnected. Somewhere pod is not running, somewhere node is not working, somewhere Kubernetes is giving some error, log is showing something. You have to correct all that thing, right? How we will do? I will tell you, right? Anyhow, we will be doing all that thing, right? Because Kubernetes is all about troubleshooting and understanding the things, right? So all that we will do, but it's a performance based. 17 to 18 questions would be asked, and you have to attempt all the 17 to 18 questions in 2 hours duration. So on an average, right? So on an average, it will be basically 8 to 10 minutes. All right, 8 to 10 minutes. Normally it's 11 to 12, but I'm just saying within 8 to 10 minutes, you should clear, you should finish that question, right? Don't take too much time on one question or two question and then you lose the other question to attempt, right? Then you will not be able to pass the exam, right? All that we will talk, right? Don't worry about it. All the nuances we will cover up so you will understand. But this is the highly overview of this thing. Now, we are first timer, right? We are doing first time, right? All this information is just for our information only. But how to clear this exam, how to get the feel of it, right? I don't want to just lose the first chance, right? Just by understanding the all the exam, lab, simulation, and the performance based exam and all the scenarios and all that thing. I should not be confused during the exam time. If I'm confused, right, my clock is ticking, right, and my 2 hours will be finished, and I won't be able to pass the exam because I didn't understand the environment itself. Understanding environment itself took time for me, right? Normally 30, 40 minutes goes just like that, right? So what they do, they provide exam simulator. There are two types of exam simulator they will provide. It's basically a practice lab. It's a prototype lab. How you are going to write exam, same to same. Same feeling. Clock is ticking. Questions would be 17 to 18 questions. Normally they say 25 questions just for practice, right? So that you should be adjusted to 2 hours. So they give you more questions to finish in 2 hours so that you can adjust in 2 hours window so that you can attempt 17 to 18. So in this lab they have 25 questions so that more question less time so that your speed will be fast. That is the only goal. But here if you fail in part doesn't matter and you can give multiple times also, right? So there are two types of simulation, simulation 1 and simulation 2, and it's a your prototype exam environment where the question will be asked and you have to clear the things. And the beauty is the answers are also given. So once you attempt the exam after 2 hours, right, you can just go and check your each and every question solutions also. The solutions are also given. Some commands, right, some techniques, some things, thought process which you have missed, everything they have explained. So that is the part. So everything is basically it's a package. And that is what we are going to practice. We have to learn first, right? I'll build your fundamentals basics. Once your fundamental basics are strong, we'll go to the advanced mode. And then we will ultimately will be ready for the certification exam. So end of this course, right, we will prepare you for certification. That is the end goal. So anyhow, we are wasting time, money, everything. Why not get more value out of it? So that is the end goal. That is the thing which we have created at Visualpath. All right. So this is what we are going to do. Now, what all things are will be covered here. So here, let me go to the left hand side. If you see left hand side domains and competencies, right here they have given the weightage. All right, so there's a storage thing, right, which is the 10 percentage. That means sure shot one question will be there, and the weightage is 10%. Troubleshooting 30%. Workloads and scheduling is 15%. Kubernetes cluster architecture, installation, and configuration. As I said, CK is all about it. All about it. Sorry, right? CK is all about design, installation, configuration, and it's your production environment, right? So that we should know how to set up the environment also. All right. So here the weightage is more given, right? So if you know these two parts, right, half of your battle is already won, right? Half of the battle is already won because you know this part because the high weightage, 55% weightage, right? And then add or 10, 15% here, you got passing marks is 65, right? 100 out of 100, 65 is the passing mark. So this is the more weightage. And then, right, why it is coming like this. The last part is service and networking, which is 20%. All right, we will cover each and everything. So now let me jump to the course content. Let me expand this tab. I'll go one by one and then we'll talk about it. All right, so far so good, guys. Any questions so far? All right, no problem, right? You can ask me questions later also. And I am sure that most of question I will be covering. So I know like what kind of questions, basic questions would be asked. So I will try to cover that thing while talking to you guys. I'll cover those part as well. But at the end, we will have the Q&A session as well for you so that nothing is missed in this session. All right, storage. So here, first we will understand the storage. What is the storage? Storage means my application data. Where should I keep the data? In this modern world, what is expensive? Right? Not oil. The data is the most expensive thing in this world. That earlier it used to be oil, but now the data is more expensive. So here Kubernetes will teach us that how we can store our data, right? So here we will configure our storage. There are various classes. Classes mean keeping the data itself is like so many options are available, right? SSD, SD, encryption, decryption, right? So all the data simulation, data transmission, all that thing. But basically it's a data storage. So we have to create the storage, right? In Kubernetes terms, we call persistent volume, right? So data uh, where we put all our data, we say volume. We create our volume. Volume is nothing but a hard disk. I can take one partition and design such a way that, okay, this partition I'll put all my data also. Let's say in your laptop, we have C drive, which is our default operating system, programs, and all that installation we do on C drive. D drive, I can create another partition where I will put only my data, my personal data. And then I can manage my data in a lot more challenging way where I introduce encryption, decryption, all that things, so my data is protected. So that way we'll do. So here we say persistent volume. Persistent means something permanent. All right, that is the meaning of persistent. Don't worry about this term. It is always expected whenever we learn new tools or new platform, right? We always get familiar with new terminologies, and very soon, right? It's first or two times we are anonymous and we are new to this thing, but later on, when we talk about day to day and when we do hands-on thing, right? It's no more a challenging thing. So it is expected we will learn new terminology, but don't worry about it, right? I'll teach you and give you as much as information so that you can understand the things. So persistent means permanent volume. So this is permanent storage. So here we will see, here they are talking about understanding, and then we will bring the Kubernetes volumes into the thing so that my data can be stored here, and everything we have to do it, right? So that's the beauty of this course, right? So you guys don't worry about it. There is no expectations that you should know this thing or that thing. For my course, right? No expectations, no prerequisites, right? If you are coming from a testing background or a developer background or a program management background or a sales or anything, right? No prerequisites, right? Because here we don't need anything. No coding is there. So I don't expect that you should come with this coding or that coding or this knowledge or that knowledge. No prerequisites. All right. Everything is on us and we will build your fundamentals right from the basic, right from the ground zero. We'll build you the foundation and then we'll take you to the advanced things. So everything is on us, right? Even you don't know Unix or Linux, this thing, Ubuntu or this flavor or that flavor, don't worry about it. That also on the fly, on the go, I'll be teaching you. There are a few automation techniques also that I will be teaching you on the fly, on the go. There are a few things where you should know microservice based architecture, that also I will be teaching you. So there is no prerequisites from you guys, right? Absolutely nothing is expected, right? You can expect 100% from us, but we are not expecting anything that, okay, you should know this, then only you will understand this part. Nothing is like that. Okay, we'll make your life very, very simple. So this is what, and then understanding the volume mode, there are a few modes, basically access mode. Here we have to give it's my data. So I have to enable the access. Access is nothing but read access, write access, who can change, who can modify, or people can only see my data, right? Sometimes the customer share data every month and the people should not change the data, customer data, right? It should only be used for a testing purpose. So we enable read, but as a program, I should modify the data. So there are so few more access modes. Access mode are nothing but ACLs, right? Access control list, and then I can enable read or write or whatever access I want, I can do that. And then we can enable some reclaim policies also, right? So we can enforce some policies because it's my data, I want to protect it. So we can enforce some policies also, right? All that we will be learning over here, all right? And then once we understand the persistent volume, then we will make it primitive. Primitive means basically my primary goal, right? How to use it. So we'll have our primitive thing in place and then we will start using it. And then we will also build our knowledge about know how to configure this application. So know how about this application, right? What is the storage and how my application will be using this storage, right? That integration we have to do it, isn't it? So here we will understand the know-how, how to configure application with persistent storage, which I already understand. I've already configured. Now my application will be integrated so that this data, right, read and write operation. As and when I'm updating the data, my database should be updated, isn't it? Same with the storage also works like that. So here we will do all that thing, right? So don't worry about it. It's on me, and I'll be teaching you all that thing. All right. So this is a 10% weightage. There would be short questions would be asked from here. And then we have troubleshooting. Troubleshooting also. Let me open the troubleshooting. So here right? Everything, right? So they will ask you node are nothing but my machines, right? As I said, there are new terminologies, right, which we'll be learning every day. So here the node is nothing but a machine. So in Kubernetes term, node is nothing but my machine could be my VM machine or a physical machine or my cloud based instance, right? If you are familiar with AWS, we say EC2 instance, right, which is my machine. So Kubernetes is basically a cluster based application. So when we say cluster means, what do you mean by cluster? Cluster is nothing but collection. So the collection of machines. So Kubernetes cannot be installed on one machine, right? That okay, this is my production server and Kubernetes is running on one server. No. What will happen if my server has some problem, my OS is corrupted, or my server has some networking issue, or my application itself is corrupted? What will happen if my application is running only on one server? My whole environment will go down. That basically it's a monolithic approach. So here we'll bring cluster. It's a cluster means collection of machines. So my one machine goes down or my one node goes down, right? I'm not dependent. Other node, my application would be available on the other node, and I can my production environment will always be available 24 by 7, 365 days. So it's a cluster-based environment. So we will be installing Kubernetes on multiple machines. So it's basically a multiple node. So here we will evaluate our Kubernetes cluster once we set up, and the node logging. Logging means log, right? Log files, right? So the node logging will be keep track our node whether my node is healthy or not. Right? It's basically a Kubernetes self-managed thing, but we will be getting all the things, right? Alerting, monitoring all the things through the node logs. Right? Kubernetes keep all the information in the log file. Logs are very, very important, right? So here, so far, we have not given the importance, maybe not that importance in our past experience, but here we will understand that through the logs, how we do troubleshooting, right? And if I ask you blindly also, guys, there is one application is down. Can you help me to run that application up, right? First thing, what will you ask? You will ask me, give me the log, let me see what has been missed, what went wrong. Then accordingly you will do troubleshooting and make this application up and running. So here our troubleshooting will start with the log files and all that thing. So we'll talk about the node, the machine log, because it's a cluster environment. So when we talk about cluster, the node thing will come first thing in the mind, and my application will be running on these machines. So node is nothing but a machine. All right, don't get confused. Understand how to monitor the applications, right? It's really important. Kubernetes comes with so many layers: automation layer, monitoring layer, orchestration layer. Many things are there in Kubernetes. All right, so we will be learning the monitoring part, how to do monitoring, all that thing, and eventually we'll be monitoring our applications also. In middle of night we'll be sleeping, right? We cannot work, right? All the 24 hours we cannot work. So after my office hours, I'll go home and I'll eat food, dinner, and I will sleep. Next day morning again I'll come to office. Imagine middle of night my application is crashed. What will happen, right? So Kubernetes gives some inbuilt monitoring capabilities. It will heal my application automatically, right? And that is the objective of this monitoring. Monitoring all these years, right? If I talk about last 1 decade, monitoring was of less importance. But now in this era, monitoring is the key essential component of each and every, whether your infrastructure or your application, your production environment, your deployment, or any mobile application, monitoring is the key. All right, so Kubernetes comes with a monitoring. Here we'll understand how to monitor our application. It's an inbuilt layer of Kubernetes. Right? We are not going to bring any monitoring tools from outside. Everything is inbuilt. All right, but here we will do the monitoring of application because it's a production environment. 24 by 7, 365 days, my application should be always up and running. And then manage container standard output and standard error logs. So we will talk more about the errors and all that thing. Container is nothing but where my application will be running inside the container. So we'll be managing the containers. So Kubernetes will help me to manage my application, right? So all the things, if my application needs something or my application is error out with some other things, right? We will be also troubleshooting that. So here we'll be troubleshooting with our container thing. Then troubleshooting application failure. My application could be fail because of n reasons, maybe infrastructure reason, maybe the OS reason, maybe the backend reason, maybe the front end reason, maybe something other, maybe the upgrade, somebody upgraded my application is crashed because the version is not compatible, right? Anything. So here we will do complete end to end, right? Why the application should fail, because my end goal is what? Application should be up and running 24 by 7, 365 days, right? So here we will see all the things because anyhow we will be building our knowledge till here, and then we are responsible to troubleshoot and make our application always 24 by 7 up and running. And then troubleshooting the cluster component failure. Kubernetes comes with a lot of components, right? Master node, worker node, my application is running, Kubernetes managing application, monitoring layer, automation layer, deployment, upgrade, scalable, auto scaling, all that things. So here we will see, right, all my components should always be healthy. If my Kubernetes components are not healthy, how can I expect that my application will be always up and running? Isn't it? So Kubernetes does a health check internally, and every 20 minutes it gives me a status. Okay, our components are healthy. If something is going wrong, Kubernetes will initiate a process to correct the things, and my all components should always be healthy, because these components will help Kubernetes to manage my application to run up and running 24/7. Right? So we have to take the health check of each and every component of Kubernetes. As I said, there are so many layers. Right? So many layers are driven by so many components. So many components should be always healthy. Right? So here we will do all that thing. And finally, the troubleshooting the networking, because it's a collection of machine cluster based, right? Kubernetes is a cluster based. So cluster based architecture means it's a collection of machines. How the machines will talk to each other? Through networking, right? Through the network, they'll be talking to each other. So my networking things, don't worry about networking, right? When I say networking, it's a vast subject, but here we are not going to go into think everything will be managed. Networking things has been nowadays reduced, right? That is not that complex, which appears to be complex in past few years, but after VMware and so many things, we have, right, so many things has been automated. So here also we'll be troubleshooting few things in networking also, right? My pod, I'm not able to access the IP address, I'm to access, but the port number is not able to there, or port number is conflict, might be any issue. All right, so here we will talk about networking, and don't worry about it, right? It's going to be a very, very interesting journey. Don't worry about it. And we don't expect anything from networking or application side. Don't worry about it. As I said, no prerequisites, absolutely zero expectation from you guys. We will be building your foundations. We'll be basic. We'll bring your foundation, then build your basic knowledge, fundamentals, and eventually we'll go to advanced level. That is how we have designed this course for you. And then workload and scheduling. So here we'll understand how the application will be deployed. So we will understand the deployments. All basically they're an automated templatized thing. So don't worry about it, right? So we have to just understand the templates, and I'll make your life very, very simple, right? How to understand this template? Basically, we are using YAML. YAML is nothing but a key value pair only. No coding, absolutely zero coding. Not even a one line of coding is needed. It's just a key value pair. When I say key value pair means, for example, the server IP address I want. All right, so server IP is my key, and the value I can assign 10.20.30.40 is my IP address. All right, same way port number. So port number is my key, and I can assign the value as 8080 or 5000. Right, so all the information, all the config will be in a key value pair only, and this key pair value is coming from a YAML, right? Yet another programming language. Though I'm saying a programming language, but we are not going to do any programming. It's a templatized thing. If you guys know, the JSON is basically abstracted from JSON, right? If you have seen the JSON file, if I remove all the comma, semicolon, right, all the braces, all that thing, it will become YAML. So YAML is much more simpler than JSON. All right, so it's just a key value pair. So here we'll understand deployment, and then how to perform rolling update and rollback. So how to upgrade the application on the fly, on the go. Today I'm running, let's say, Nginx 10.1, right? Tomorrow, let's say 11.0 version has announced, right? I need not to bring down my production environment down for upgrade or maintenance, right? Normally banking people, and they send you message, right? That between 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., right? Today the ICICI Bank will be doing some maintenance work and application won't be available. But in Kubernetes, we already have, right, all this thought process. While designing this application, all the thought process were there in the mind of Google engineers, because Google engineers, they wrote the feature by feature this application. Kubernetes developed by Google engineers, right? It's basically a Google product. So we will talk. I'll tell you all these stories when we jump into the actual course, and I'll give you more stories and more background about it. So here we'll do on the fly, on the go rolling update. That I'll be upgrading my application on the fly, on the go. How? That I'll tell you. There are so many techniques which will follow. And then if something goes wrong, let's say I've upgraded my application. After 1 hour, I realize that this application is not healthy, right? Every now and then my application are getting restarted, right? So that means this new upgrade is basically not healthy. It's giving me trouble every 1 hour. So I can roll it back also. So there are some techniques how to upgrade, how to roll back, we will learn over here. Then use config map and secrets to configure your application. Config map are nothing but environment variables in simple terms. And these environment variables, we can capture everything, right? Even the port number, IP address, username and password also. But username and password, is it a valid thing to put in the config map as an environment variable? Anybody can get it, right? Anybody can steal my credentials, right? If I put it as just a plain text environment variable. So what we do, we create secrets. Secret is nothing but encryption decryption. Kubernetes comes with an additional layer of encryption decryption. Here I will use my username, password, database name, or database connection string. I don't want to expose just like a plain text, so that people can open my YAML file, read, oh, what is the user he is using? Oh, this is the user. And what is the password? Oh, this is the password. He will go check in my database and change the password. Next time when I come, I will not be able to log in. Why? Because somebody changed the password, right? And that is how all the hackers, they will hijack my application. So Kubernetes protect, right? Kubernetes protect from all these encryption decryption techniques. So here we will deep dive. We will encrypt and decrypt all our credentials and we'll create secret. Secret is just like nobody can read it. It's already encrypted, right? So all these encryption decryption technique, we will take few samples, few scenarios, and we'll deploy our application where my application, let's say front end needs to connect to backend database, right? I will use, because when we connect to database, it will first thing it will ask me is the username and password, right? Credentials, right? And where there are many types of credential. Somewhere I've given only read access to someone, right? They can only just have login with a read only permission because the permission only given to that login credential as a read only, right? Somebody need read and write, somebody needs admin, right? I can change the schema, I can create few tables, I can add few columns, rows, all that thing, right? So we will give all the things through secrets. It's going to be very, very interesting, and don't worry about it. Then know how to scale the application. This is a very, very important thing. All these years we failed to scale the application. Manually, we do performance testing of with 5,000 users, then 50,000 users, then 1 million users, and still my application is failing. But here Kubernetes will automatically scale my applications. As and when there are some thresholds which are set, as and when traffic goes above 80%, it will automatically scale my application to one more, right? It will create one more replica and deploy on one more machine. My whole traffic will be routed to that node. So all that we will understand here as a scaling, and ultimately we'll go to the auto scaling mode also. So from manual scaling to autopilot, which is auto scaling. All right, all that thing I will be doing here with few examples so that you can understand. Then understand the primitive used to create a robust self-healing application deployment, right? As I said, self-healing and all that thing, right? We cannot work 24/7 and monitor my application by sitting in the office 24/7 and see, okay, my application is running fine, running fine, running fine. Oh, middle of night it failed, right? We cannot work like that, right? So who do? Kubernetes will do, right? Once I go home, it is Kubernetes duty who will be monitoring. If my application is crashed, it will automatically self-heal, right? My application. Why? Because Kubernetes stores all my configuration in a YAML file. All my configuration are there in the YAML file. Kubernetes keep that in its internal memory. When my application goes down, it will just go read the config and create a new environment automatically. That is how it does self-healing, and there are some other techniques also, which I'll be talking more in detail. All right, so this is how we are going to do it. Understand how resource limits can affect the pod scaling. Right? Resources, when I say resource means what? CPU and memory, right? Even I can give a dedicated resource to my application so that it should not fail. Normally what happens, normally the critical big Hadoop application or database application, minimum requirements they always ask for that. My application needs 4 CPU RAM and 16 GB RAM. What will you do if those resources are not available? The application will never be installed because those resources are never be given to Kubernetes, or they never be given to your application. Right? And Kubernetes won't be able to start your application because those resources are not defined anywhere. Kubernetes doesn't know what is needed. So what we do here, I can, if any my application need some prerequisites that okay, 4 CPU, 16 GB memory is needed, right? I can define it here. I can give some limit also that from 4 GB is fine, but up to what? Let's say 5,000 users, it is fine. As soon as it goes beyond that, more and more users are coming to my application. What will happen? So I can define the range here that from 4 GB it can go up to 24 GB or 32 GB, right? I can define all that things. Here we will talk about all the limits, how to set the limits, how to do, and how my application will be affected, and how I can even do the scheduling also, right? Scheduling means will this resource will be available on my nodes, right? Then all my application will be placed on that particular node and my will be application is running. Node is nothing but a machine. Don't get confused. I'll be often, very often will be giving all these things, but eventually you will also understand, right? You will also understand. But sometimes because I'm already in that mode, so I will use these terminologies very frequently, but don't get confused. So here, this limit whether the resources are available on my machine, my node, then only my pod. Pod is nothing but my container. In Kubernetes, we don't say container as a layman term, we say pod, right? I'll give you why we say pod. Pod is nothing. The full form of pod is at production on demand, right? Basically where my containers are running, right? So here in Kubernetes, containers are replaced by a new term called pod. That I'll give you all the story, all the nuances, all the semantic, all the meaningful things so that you can get attached to this thread, a new thing called pod. All right. So all that we will do it. So here we will do all that thing. Then awareness of manifest. Manifest is nothing but my installation script or my deployment template. Here we will how we can manage it, right? And what are various other templating tools, right? As I said, no coding, all templates. So there are ready-made templatized things, and nowadays many templates, all the modern tools. Whether I talk about Docker, Kubernetes, Datadog monitoring tool, Ansible, right? Anything, right? No coding. Coding has been eliminated completely. That is the ease of our life. So this course is not only restricted for developer or a tester or a project manager or a sales. Anybody come from any domain they can learn, right? Even from instrumentation domain, electronics domain, or any mechanical field people they can also learn it. All right, because Kubernetes supports all type of all businesses. It is not stick to only software management or a software particular application. No, right? We are using Kubernetes for gaming industry, banking industry, retail, shopping, right? Everything, mobile, this, that, everything, right? I'll give you all these scenarios, right? Little later because there are so many stories I have to tell and I cannot be able to complete all my stories in one session. So this is all about this thing, right? So don't worry about it. It's just a high level thing which I'm just telling you how we are going to do. And there are a few things underneath also which I'll be covering, right? So don't think that, okay, line by line item I'll be covering. I'll be covering few additional things also to ease your life so that you can understand this part, right? And for them also, they cannot give hundreds list of content that, okay, these are the table of content and we'll be covering this thing. So it's understood, right? Basic things also they cannot mention, but underneath things will be covered. Don't worry about it. Now, this is again very, very important, right? Cluster architecture. All right. We need to understand the architecture. So there will be one theoretical session where only I'll be talking about this architecture. Only. Until you understand it, then all I'll go with the installation part. Right. There will be dedicated one session only for installation. Then I'll give you the complete overview, what we understood from theoretical part, how we installed it, how my environment is configured, all that thing we will understand in one session. Right. So we are going to give a dedicated time to understand this part, right? To understand each and every semantic, any nuances, any points, right? To drill down to each and every basic, how we can leverage to a huge architecture. And it's a cluster-based architecture, right? Cluster-based means multiple machines will be needed, collection of machines, and then my architecture will be complete, right? We cannot restrict to only one machine. It's a monolithic approach. We are not talking about any monolithic approach. We are in a microservice-based era. Right? Everything should run as a microservice. Micro means very small, right? So don't worry about it, right? We will cover all that part. So here, once my cluster is up and running, right? The first thing is we will enable a role-based access, right? Who needs what access? So here, RBAC is the thing where I will be defining the role, right? People can create pod, but they cannot delete it. They should not delete. If I give the delete permission, they'll delete all my application. So I can restrict by defining their role. Okay, they can create application, they can monitor, they can list, but they cannot delete it. I can control through the RBAC thing. What role I can define accordingly, those roles will be assigned to the developer team. Those roles will be assigned to testing team. Those roles will be assigned to DevOps deployment team. Those roles will be assigned to the production support team. Right? I can define those. So we will put a strategy using this role-based access, and then we will give roles. All right. So we'll create the roles here. Otherwise, my environment people will go and delete it. Right? How will I secure my environment? So we'll secure our environment by defining what access should be given to developer, what access should be given to tester, what access should be given to DevOps team, what access should be given to production deployment team, right? Or a production support, right? All that we will see. Kubernetes, right? We will install through kubeadm. Kubeadm is Kubernetes administrator user. Basically, it's a kubeadm to install basic cluster, right? So we need a Kubernetes admin or administrator role through to configure the Kubernetes cluster environment, right? So through the kubeadm, we'll be installing all that thing, right? And it's an inbuilt role which is given by Kubernetes, right? So I'll talk more about it, kubeadm thing, right? So kubeadm, kubelet, kubectl, all that thing which we will talk more in detail. Manage highly available Kubernetes cluster, right? High availability is the demand of this era, right? High availability means it should be up and running 24 by 7, highly available all the time. That is the meaning of high availability. All right, how we can make our Kubernetes cluster? As I said, Kubernetes comes with many layers: monitoring, right, automation, monitoring, installation, orchestration, all that layer will be having this, so that my environment should be highly available all the time. That means 24/7, 365 days. How? That we will see, and we'll manage it also. So we'll learn all the techniques. Provisioning underlying infrastructure to deploy a Kubernetes cluster, right? Provision underlying infrastructure to deploy Kubernetes cluster. What all things are needed from the infrastructure? I need machines. What should be size? What should be networking? Right? All the things, right? What will be the login credentials? Where are my binary files? How would I deploy? How would I install? Right? Which package? That package? Kubernetes dependent on Docker, right? Because as I said, Kubernetes cannot create container. It doesn't have capability to create containers. So for that, we need Docker. Docker will create containers, and then Kubernetes will take over and start managing it. All right, so there are so many things. So here we will understand what are the underlying infrastructure which is needed. So there is one more session, right? And that time we'll talk about it. Infrastructure means machines, right? How, right? What machines? So probably in my slide, we'll go back and we'll understand it. Performance, right? Tomorrow if Kubernetes upgrade to another version, it says 1.28 and let's say they upgrade to 1.29, right? I can upgrade my things. So version upgrade in Kubernetes cluster using kubeadm. As I said, this is the admin user. Using this user only I can upgrade. So that means people will not have this user. They will be having some other user. So as and when I want to do some specific task to my cluster, I will touch this user, and using this user, I can do only administration part. So upgrade and all that thing we'll be using kubeadm. Implement etcd backup. Kubernetes comes with an inbuilt database called etcd database, right? We need not to bring any database from outside, or we need not to configure data. It's an inbuilt. As soon as I set up the cluster, the database will also be configured. And this database, what it will do, it will store all the information of my cluster, right? What is the IP address of node 1? What is the IP address of node 2? Right? How many machines are there? What are the port numbers? How many applications are running? Right? What are their port number? What are their IP address? Where they are running? Right? How many replicas? All the information will be stored in this database. Right? As I said, right? When we are sleeping and my application is crashed, from where Kubernetes will get the details? From this database, right? From this database, Kubernetes will go read all the information from this database, and this database is highly encrypted, right? Nobody can log into database. Though I'm admin, I can also not log in. It's only related to Kubernetes. They use internal APIs. They get access to this database, right? I can get the details, right? But I cannot customize or change anything. It's managed by Kubernetes engine itself. All right. So through the APIs, we will get the details. So Kubernetes also take all the information, and it will automatically maintain all its configurations, current state. I would say the current state information will be stored inside this database. That is how the desired state or the current state will be managed using this database, and it's an inbuilt database. We'll talk more about it. I'll tell you how to take backup, because there will be short question will be asked in backup and restore in the exams. That is why they said you should implement the backup process on top of this database also. That is not by default. We have to implement, and I'll be teaching you that. So that means the backup part is also you have never done, right? Being a developer or a tester or whatever domain you might have done or you might have not done it, but here we'll be doing it, right? So it's going to be very, very interesting. All right. And last thing, right? Services and networking. I know I'm taking more time because demo session, we don't want to just hurry up the things. We want to give you as much as information, right? So don't worry about it. If you understand this part, rest of things are very simple. So we'll finish in another 10, 20 minutes and then we are good. All right. Services and networking. Services, when I talk about these services, what is these services? These services are nothing but microservices. As I mentioned somewhere in my initial discussion, right, I said that we will be talking about microservice based architecture also, right, both in Docker, right. Fundamentally, we'll be building our all knowledge in Docker, because in Docker we have a separate topic, right, where we'll be touching on microservices, and through those microservices, we'll be exposing our application as a service. So basically, this service will help me to access my application from outside world. So my applications are running inside the Kubernetes. How to access? How can I provide the access so that the whole world can access my application which are running inside Kubernetes? Isn't it? Through these services. And these services are microservices. Kubernetes has many types of services also. Each service play its own role. So whenever I want to maintain the internal access, I will use one particular type of service. When I want to expose the application to outside world, I will use another type of service. When I want to manage the traffic, I will use some other services. So these services are basically help me to manage the traffic, manage my application, manage so many things I will be doing through these services, which I will be creating as my microservice based architecture. right? First, we'll understand the microservice architecture, and then we will play with these services, right? And if you ask me, in this modern era, everything is running as a services, right? If people coming from development, they know API, REST API, all these are nothing but services, isn't it? Right? So today, if I want to Google anything, right, is the Google database is installed on my laptop? No, isn't it? We don't install, but I can get any information, right? Just open the URL and www.google.com, open it and key in the information. What are information I needed? Right? Just I will key in, and then it will fetch the information from Google search engine, and it will fetch and it will give me few options. Then I'll click and I'll get the information immediately, right? If some troubleshooting, right? Let's say my Oracle database is crashed and something I got an error, I just go to Google. Google will give me the exact response, and then I can do troubleshooting. That is how we are doing it. But is the Google database is installed on my laptop? No. How it is working? Through the services, through the APIs, isn't it? We'll talk about all this API concept also. Don't worry about it. As I said, no prerequisites from you. I'll be teaching you all that thing in Docker part, right? All the basics and all that thing I'll be teaching. So I'll talk about Docker also. Just let me finish this part and then we'll move on with Docker. Understanding the host networking, right? First, we will understand the machine artifacts, machine nuances, machine networking interface, what component, what networking, right? First, we will understand. So host networking, right? So the what Kubernetes as a host giving me the networking, we will understand that part and then configure that thing across all my cluster nodes. All means Kubernetes node, because cluster means nothing but Kubernetes cluster. So it's a Kubernetes only. So Kubernetes node. So I have to what Kubernetes offers me networking, that we will understand all the basics, right? All the fundamentals, and then we will understand how it is linked to all the machines, right? All my cluster nodes, how it is linked, how we can do it, how we can talk to each other, how machines are doing, because underlying network should be done and it should be taken care by Kubernetes, but we have to understand because we'll be doing troubleshooting, we'll be playing with it every day. So here we will do all that thing. Then understand connectivity between the pods. Pod is nothing but my application containers. As I said, pod is nothing but container. So production on demand service is the full form of pod. Here we will see how they are connected. My front end is running in a pod. My backend is also running in a pod. But how my front end will connect to backend? Or if I have a middle tier, right? Maybe messaging service or maybe MQ, right? Or maybe any other Java application. My some middle tier, right? How will I connect all these things so my application will run as one suite of application? All right. So all that thing we will understand how the pods are connected, right? And here we will do all deep detailed study, right? While building the pod itself. And then understand the type of service. So I was telling you that there are various type of services, right? So here are the services. So we have a cluster IP type service. Then we have a node port. So cluster IP basically internal routing service. It will do internal load balancing, right? When I have my traffic is coming, and my pod is already 80%, and still traffic is coming. The pod say, hey, Baba, stop, right? I will die. Already I am serving the request 80%, right? What do you expect? And if there is no one, the more traffic will come 85, 90, 95, 99, 100, and it will blow off, isn't it? So this service will manage the internal load balancing of service. We'll talk more about it, but I'm just giving a gist of it, right? So this is the internal service which will be dealing with it. Node port service, when I want to expose my application to outside, we call a different service which we call node port. All right, node and port. I have to enable some port number, right? There's a dedicated port number so that nobody can do any hacking, because now people do hacking on the port number because every application is running on a port number. Normally the backend database middle tier, right? So people do hacking. Here they cannot do it. We will do a different type of service which will restrict my even ports also, right? So here we will do. Then a load balancer service ultimately does a load balancing, right? So traffic management, here we will see when traffic goes beyond 5,000 users, 50,000 users, 1 million users, 10 million users, how we do. So who will help me? That Kubernetes has its own services. Those services will manage. You and me need not to struggle now. All right, Kubernetes will handle through this load balancer. So all these are what? These are service types, right? Which one to use, when to use, how to use, that I will be teaching you, and then we will understand this cluster IP, node port, load balancer, and we'll understand all type of services here and their endpoints. Endpoint, what do you mean by endpoints? Endpoints are nothing but the URL or the IP address through which I will be accessing this service, right? When I want to access through API or REST API, I need what I need. I need a URL. Or if I want to access the application directly, if my DNS is not installed, right? How can I access? Through the IP address, right? So the IP. So we'll talk about DNS and all that thing, right? But all these endpoints will be collected. Endpoint means IP addresses will be collected along with the port number. Or if I don't want to expose the IP address, I can convert into URL, right? Ultimately, when you say www.google.com, when I say ping www.google.com, what it will do? It will go to IP address. It will give you an IP address, right? So that is how we will collect all our endpoints. Know how to use ingress controllers and ingress resources. It's very interesting. Ingress is managing the outside traffic when it comes and hitting my application or my Kubernetes cluster environment, right? How the traffic will go. I cannot open the gate and say, hey, come, my application is running here. Hey, come to Kubernetes, come to Kubernetes. I cannot say and open the gate and whole flooded of traffic is coming and hitting my application and all my application will be dead after 1 hour. Because what happened? I opened the gate just like that and the flooded of traffic come and hit my application. They went to 80, 85%, 90, 95%, 99, 100 and they blew off, right? I don't want to get into those things. So here we'll be controlling the ingress. To give you a simple example, when you go to Amazon shopping, right? We do a lot of shopping through Amazon, right? Amazon is selling more than 10 million products, right? From the needle to aeroplane, everything they are selling, right? So, and they have so many categories. Let's say I want to buy a shirt or a t-shirt, right? I want to directly go to the men's section. Why should I go to the kids section or a women's section or a laptop section or a mobile section or any furniture section or a book section? Why should I go? Unless if I'm hunting for one t-shirt and I'm go to women's section or a mobile section or a or a laptop section, that means I'm creating traffic, unnecessary traffic, right? My request should directly go to the men section. In men section, category is there, shirt, t-shirt, trousers, right? It should go to the t-shirt section because I want to buy the t-shirt. So my traffic, I should give a path so that my traffic should go to directly to that section only. So amazon.com/men, right? Because I want to go to the men section. Amazon, if somebody wants to purchase in a women section, Amazon/women, Amazon/mobile, Amazon/laptop, right? How I do routing. So using ingress, I can write some rules and based on rules, I can route the traffic. So the traffic should not unnecessarily go to all my and do the hunting and create traffic. If one request will be do like that, and if we see millions of requests are doing that, my application will never be up and running. So here we'll do some intelligent traffic management techniques by writing some rules. Rules are very simple. Don't worry about it. I'll give you each and everything and it will be a hands-on thing. So I'll be running in front of you. So don't worry about it. But here we'll learn all that thing. All right. So we will deep dive here. And then, as I said, we'll use the DNS and all that part. So Kubernetes comes with its own DNS, which we call core DNS, because Kubernetes has its own DNS, all defined networking, everything will be defined through this DNS. My application will be exposed through this DNS. I need not to configure any DNS. All right, domain network service, I need not to create. Everything is there. Only we have to start the service and then we'll start using it. And there are some configuration which I'll be opening and changing and modifying so that my things will also be covered and everything will pass through this DNS. So we have a Kubernetes core DNS. So that will also we are going to cover because here we have a know-how session here. All right. And then choose appropriate container network interface plugin. There are so many things nowadays which we come with a plugin, right? If I want to create a Jenkins build, but my Java application. So what I need Java plugin, right? JRE or whatever we need. So my application should be up and running. Or we have a .NET ASP, right? What we need Visual Studio and SDK and all that thing comes as a plugin, right? So anything plugin. So if my application also comes with thing, we can even have a plugin also in terms of network as well as my container side also, right? So both the way we'll be managing it. So don't worry about it. This is what we are going to do in CKA, right? Completely in CKA, we'll be doing all the things, right? And then there is another part with my CKAD. This is my CKAD, right? So same thing, I will not just repeat, which we already discussed this for CKAD also 2 hours and it's online exam, valid for 3 years, 12 months, everything is same. CKAD, but CKAD is only for developer, right? If you see how to design your application and build, isn't it? So it's all basically only restricted to your application. Developers should have all this thought process in mind while designing the application, while building the application. So it's all about application developer. I won't be focusing more here because I will be covering that part in my CK itself, not as a developer layer, because it will limit my scope and I don't want to go with a narrow scope. We want to go with a broader spectrum to cover each and everything. Right? Application deployment, how the application should be coded so that it can be deployed on Kubernetes environment, right? So they should know Kubernetes primitives and they should know what are the common deployment techniques and strategies, and then we can follow. Deployment and then rolling update. And this is anyhow we will be covering deployment and rolling update and rollbacks, Helm package and all that thing. Basically, that is how we deploy the application automatically to maintain the versions of the application. So Helm is only used for as a repository who will manage all the versions of these applications. And then we have observability and maintenance, application maintenance. So we need to understand few APIs are already deprecated. We should not use in our coding or programming while coding the application because few APIs are already deprecated. So we should keep track of deprecated APIs also. Accidentally, if you are using an application that is not supported by the platform, it will fail, right? So we'll not make these mistakes. We have to keep track. Implement probes and health check. Probes and health checks are nothing but internal Kubernetes readiness and liveliness probes, which will do a health check of my application. And I'll be covering in the monitoring part that part. So we'll have the feel of it. Use built CLI tools to monitor Kubernetes. Anyhow, we have a monitoring tool and then utilize the container logs, all that. We'll be covering in CK in much more detail. That's a CLI. Kubernetes has its own kubectl, which is a command line tool. I'll talk not in this session, but Kubernetes has a command line tool also. And through that CLI is nothing but a command line interface. Using that CLI, we'll do all the deployments, monitoring, check the status, scaling, availability, all that thing. Then application environment configuration, discover resources, right? So here we can create our own custom resources also, right? If something, so we nowadays we use through operators. Operators are nothing but plugins. All right. So if you know the OpenShift or AWS or Amazon, right? There are so many market operators. Using those operators are nothing but plugins. So see, as I tell, right, there are different terminologies, but we are already familiar with terminology. Only the names are different. All right. So the operators are nothing but plugins. So here we'll create custom resource definitions and we'll creating that. Understand authentication, authorization, admission control. So it is very essential needed for application. How my application will be authenticated? Who will do authorization? Right? What is the admission control? All that thing. Right? Normally it's a part of RBAC. We will cover in RBAC. Request limit quotas. As I said, will resource quota where I will be giving the CPU memory, right? And I can define my quota also. For each every page when you design your application, you should define the resources also, right? And you will be covering this part. Config map and secret, as I said, config map are nothing but environment variables, but I cannot expose username and password as a simple environment variable as a plain text. I'll be using encryption decryption techniques. And then resource requirements and secrets, right, which I already talked, and service accounts. Service accounts are nothing but an application admin account, so that you can configure the application. So I cannot give you a full cluster admin account, but for a particular application, I can create service account. Service accounts in normal terms are nothing but a local accounts. So I can create one admin account per application, so that that application will be configured by the people who are having that role only. Not everyone will be having. So like that, we can create. It's a small thing which can be covered, and we'll cover in RBAC anyhow. Then security context and capabilities, all that things. So I can set some flags as a security context, right? And through the security context only my application will run, right? All these are development techniques. Then service and networking, right? So this part again is common between CKA. There also 20%, here also 20%. Both is common between CK and CKAD. But here they are focusing only from, not from configuration, but only from the development perspective they have configured. So demonstrate basic understanding of network policies, how you can impose the network policy in your application so that the traffic can be whatever policy you have configured, inbuilt traffic or outgoing traffic, both inbound and outbound. You can use these policies, which we call ingress and egress, which we will talk in detail. Provide troubleshooting access to your application via services. As I said, three types of services: cluster IP, node port, load balancer. My application should be gel. My application should work well with this, fit in these windows, and it should work with these services. So that is how the developer should have the idea of Kubernetes services, and accordingly, you should do the coding while designing the application, right? And you will be discussing in CK ingress rules, as I said, to route the traffic, right? Amazon shouldn't. I'm looking for a T-shirt. You should go to the women's. You should not go to women's section or laptop section. You should go to the man section, right? So by writing the rules, and this is a very simple technique. Application should also be keeping in mind that they should not create unnecessary traffic. Their application should not create traffic. They should design by keeping the rules of Kubernetes in mind, right? Which we call ingress rules, right? So this is anyhow will be covering part. I don't want to go with a lightweight. I want to go with the full spectrum of things. So that is the reason we will be doing with CKA, not with CKAD, right? We cannot do both the things. So we'll be going with 𝐶𝐾𝐴, not with 𝐶KAD. All right. So this is the thing. So I know I'm taking more time. Just allow me for a few more time. So this is the thing which we spend more time, because this is the thing you have to understand. And that's the intention, right? That is the intention, to give you as much as information which we talk in detail. And as I said, we are preparing for certification track. So my course, everything is designed based on these modules, whatever module they define, and plus all the basic nuances we have already covered. Right? So we'll be giving you a full-fledged package so that you can go with complete hands-on thing, not just a normally what people say. I don't want to blame anyone, but they say DevOps, and they give so many list of tools, and they give you just basic information. They don't give you a deep in-depth knowledge. And if when you go and tomorrow when you go into a production or with a new job, right, and something is assigned to you, you will fail miserably. Why? Because you come with a basic, nobody run the show with a basic knowledge. You need a hands-on session. And Kubernetes is even the exam certification itself is a scenario-based exam. It's a performance-based exam, not objective. Right? So that means we are preparing you for that. All right. So you know the certificate market value, and your even logo will display on your CV, your social media profile will be shortlisted, all that which I already talked about. CK and CKD, they are giving a high recognition. Mostly even for appraisals, people also do the certification so that they will be appraised and they'll be promoted. All right, people do sort of, so there are so many value adds for this thing. Now I'll spend one more minute here just to give you how we are going to do in our lab environment. All right, so here in my lab environment, both this is for Docker and this is for Kubernetes. All right, so we have a Docker slide also. Yes, Docker. So we'll talk about Docker also. We'll spend few more minutes for Docker also. Don't worry about it. We are not going to miss out anything. Only thing is I'm going to take few more minutes extra. So here the Docker instance, everything will be created on AWS cloud. All right, everything on AWS. If you know the AWS, well and good. If you don't know AWS, I'll be teaching you AWS also as a cloud, right, as a part of Docker and Kubernetes course. So it's a free, right? Unix, Linux, Ubuntu, all that I'll be teaching you free. Automation layer, YAML thing, all that thing I'll be teaching you free. Plus the cloud also I'll be teaching you free. If you know one cloud, right, you can manage with other clouds also. But only few terminologies will be different, but most of the concepts are same, right? So here everything will be doing on AWS. So every day we'll be playing with AWS cloud, so that at the end of this course, right, after 45 days, you should be able to have even one more additional skill in your profile which you can put as AWS. But I will not go that depth that cover the RDBS and the Aurora database and Crunchbase database and all that thing. But what all needed for Docker Kubernetes as a platform, will be touching all the parts on AWS. Right from EC2 instance and all that thing. So everything will be doing on AWS account. Kubernetes multi-node cluster also will be doing on AWS. So both Docker and Kubernetes will be doing on AWS cloud. All right. So I would urge that just go and create your AWS account. It is free for 1 year. All right, it's free for 1 year. So you'll be using a free account, right? Free tier account. Just go and get it. If you want, I can give you the URL also. Don't worry, we'll do that. So everything is there and we'll be doing on AWS. And the benefit of AWS, tomorrow you go anywhere, anytime, right? You can just go log in and you can set up your lab, right? You need not to worry about it, right? It is not that you have to go to office, then only you will be have the access to the lab, right? You can access from anywhere. Now system requirements. So my Kubernetes master node, we need 2 CPU, 4 GB RAM, which is enough for this thing. And rest all is 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM. Even for Docker and other my application master worker nodes, 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM, which is absolutely free. Nobody will charge you. Only they will charge you for 2 CPU here only for this, because we need for master node minimum requirement is 2 CPU, right? But it is very less, right? So it's a very less, right? So normally it comes less than $10 per month if you use full fledged 30 days, right? But normally if you use, it will be $4 to $5, which is less than, basically will come to 150 uh, 150 rupees, Indian rupees, right? Only for this, only when I touch the master node. Rest all is absolutely free, right? Per se, if I want to use this for a few hours in a day, right, it will be 100, right, INR, right, 100 rupees only. Nothing, absolutely free. So we'll be using for one full year, right, by just paying 100 rupees per month, right? So that is the beauty of AWS, and that is why I also prefer that is the easiest way to learn both Docker and Kubernetes. And nowadays everybody is moving towards cloud. So why not utilize our time, money, everything, even the everything on cloud, right? That is the reason I'm not going to create a virtual lab and then give you access. We'll be directly exposed to cloud because the whole world is moving to cloud. Why we move backward? We should also move forward, right? So that is the end goal. We'll be using it. All right. And here, as I said, Linux, Ubuntu, all that flavors we will understand. Ubuntu is nothing but a Linux flavor only. Don't worry about it, right? Don't be scared, don't be surprised. Everything will be covered by me, right? So I'll be teaching you on the fly, on the go. We'll be very slow until unless you pick up the basic, until unless you are good with fundamental, until unless you are good with basic and fundamental, then we'll go to advanced level. That is how whole our course will be. We'll give you a complete walkthrough like that, from basic fundamentals to advanced. All right, and we'll be having our own access, right? All user profile, right? Everyone will have their own access and we'll be having our own thing. So this is basically about lab. I'll take few more minutes to give you a gist of Docker also. So Docker, so here again we follow the certification track, right? As I said, everything is for certification, right? And everything we are preparing for certification. So here we have a very renowned certificate which we call DCA, Docker Certified Associate. It's a certificate from Docker and they are the course content, right? So Docker, basically it's a Docker was developed by Linux technology, right? If you know libvirt and all these things, right? So basically it goes very well. Nowadays Windows also, right? Kubernetes started with the Unix only because for security and for production environment, everybody prefers Unix, Linux, I mean to say, right? So everybody prefers a Linux environment and Kubernetes, and they go with Linux, even Docker also. If you have Windows is just click, 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 and it will install Docker in few clicks, and the Docker will be up and running. Right? Same way in Linux also, few commands, right? So I would prepare you, I would prefer Linux always. Don't worry, it would be a very easy journey for you, right? Always try to learn new skill, right? We skill which we already know, which is easy, right? Right? Don't give more important, but give to the thing which we don't know. So here we'll be try to be always on Linux side, but don't worry, as I said, I'll be teaching you all the things, right? From the basic fundamentals, right? Even what is make dir, right? How to change directory, everything I'll be teaching you. All right. So here the main purpose of Docker will be building our application into the container, how to build it, that we will see. And ultimate goal, continuous integration, continuous delivery. In short, we say CI/CD pipeline. All right. So CI was already there. Continuous integration was already there through Jenkins, all that thing. These are all CI tools, Jenkins, right? I can integrate my code repository, my Git repository, my code base or any version control repository to my build environment and I can build the application, right? And when I deploy, right, I deploy, right, because we need binaries or we need the whatever the build artifacts, right? All the things which we have to ship and then we have to deploy in production environment, which we'll doing it manually. So delivery part was manual. But after Docker, we integrated everything as a single pipeline. All right. So my code, build it, test it, and finally deploy it. So coding, building, test, and deploy. These are the four stages of any pipeline in a simple word. Right. First is code, build, test, and then deploy. All right. So the four stages, every pipeline has four stages. So here we cover all the four stages. Normally at Docker, I'll be teaching all the basic things, right? What is your layman or your legacy application? How to migrate into container? What are things? How you bring it? How you migrate it? The migration techniques, the platform techniques, the basics, everything I'll be teaching you. And then ultimately the goal is to build our own CI/CD pipeline. All right. So build it, like first coding, then build, then test, and finally deploy. So here we integrated this delivery also. Earlier it used to be very, very difficult. Once we build the software and then how we ship to client who is purchasing my software through the DVDs, through the CDs, right? We have to send. Or at the later stage, right? Few years ago, we used to upload on one repository. Client has to pay me and he has to take the subscription. Then he has to, I will enable the only few version. He will download and then he will get the version because the shipment takes time. If somebody is courier a DVD to me, right, and it's a US vendor, right, it will take 2 months, right? Because the procurement and payment and all the process, right, one by one, it one move from one department to another, another to another, another to another, and finally shipment will be released after few weeks because account department will not give clearance. They will waiting for the payment. They will check my agreement. They will check the contract. And once they give the clearance, procurement will start shipping the product. They will do the packaging. And finally the shipment team will ship it. And then the shipment itself will takes time on the fly because the courier guy, they will come in India 3 weeks and the 1 week they will take at the customs and 1 week they'll take for deliver. So almost around 2 months of journey without wasting time, nothing getting, no output, zero output. So now we have automated everything. Instantly we will get it, right? How? Because we have a registry server. All my content images will be there. That whoever wants, right, he will be download and it will. So basically we are using a push-pull technique. I'll be pushing to the repository, you will pulling and downloading on your machine and we'll be doing it. In the environment also, we'll do like that. Kubernetes also, it will take the images from the repository, it will run my application directly. It will not go to developers and say, hey, where's your code? Tell me, I have to build it, I have to build. Nothing like that. So I think will be a automated pipeline. Here we'll be seeing that thing. Don't worry, we have a session, full session on this. I'll be teaching you what is pipeline, what are the stages which I talked about, coding, building, testing, deployment, all that thing in detail, right? And I have a one full theoretical session where I'll be giving all basics. Then we will implement it using Docker. Why DevOps? We need to understand, right? DevOps, if you see, there are two terms. One is development, which we call dev, first three letters as a development. Ops means operations. So basically, there was no collaborations. Development team, they code and they say, okay, operations team, you can deploy on test environment. And when they deploy, application doesn't run. And the blame game starts. They say, you have not coded well, application is not running. They say, no, it's your environment problem, not my problem. My application is running, come and see, it's running on my system, right? They will be fighting. So we have collaborate, right? So what is DevOps? We'll teach in my introduction session when I start with Docker. We start with the DevOps thing, right? And then we'll talk about thing. What is DevOps lifecycle, right? Where we say continuous integration, continuous development, continuous testing, continuous deployment, so that my application is always be ready with the latest version, because it's build, test, everything as a pipeline. Stage by stage, it will move. Once it will be built, it will be tested. Once it will be tested, we'll see the results. If all my unit tests pass and it's above 80%, then it is good candidate to be deployed on production or a staging pre-prod environment. Then we do a UAT testing. UAT means we'll bring the business users, few business users who will test in an integrated environment as a prototype of production. We have not yet moved to production, but in a pre-prod, they will do the testing. They are satisfied. They'll give me sign off. Once they give sign off, I move to production. So all that process I'll discuss in my life cycle environment, right? When we talk about DevOps, everything I will explain you, right? What is UAT, what is this, what is that, everything we'll discuss about it. And then we'll talk what is VM, right? Container also called as a VM, right? Virtual machine, right? VMware, which we know already, right? Virtualization, all that thing. And then we have containers, which is a new term. So virtualization and containerization we will compare, right? What was past and what is current, and how we are moving from past to current, and how we are moving to this era as a modern world, right? Modern application, microservice application. We'll compare here in detail. I'll give you all the gist here. I have all the things and we will talk about it. And then once we have fundamental basic, then we will start with Docker architecture. All right, we will understand the architecture, what Docker is going to offer, what is the architecture look like, right? How we are going to touch and play with this architecture so that my application can be migrated into a new environment called containerization from virtualization. All right, and then we have Docker registry where we will be registering our application as a container images into the registry. Registry is nothing but a repository, right? But here we say, we don't say repository, we say registry. Why? Because we have to register our application all the time, every time, right? Nginx 1.0, Nginx 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, every time I have to register my application. So we say registry, not repository. All right, but basically it's a repository only. As I said, some terminologies we will understand, but when I give you more details, it will be very comfort for you guys to pick up the things. Then we will talk about installation. Once we understand the architecture, we'll go with the installation and we'll try to do installation on various environments, CentOS, Ubuntu, all that thing. Then we will create your account also on Docker Hub. Docker Hub is basically a registry server or a repository where we'll be putting all our images, which we call Hub. Hub is means basically it's a public repository, right? Docker Hub, all that thing, right? So if you know Docker Hub and then various other GitHub and all that thing, which is publicly available repository. So it is publicly available. We will create your account so that we can use this push-pull technique and we can deploy our application faster. Where we will keep, once I build my application, I cannot keep on my local machine, right? I have to give it to my teams or my vendor or my client, right? So where, how, that through will be the registry. So we'll see all that thing. Then we'll start with our hands-on thing with the command line thing, right? So how the day-to-day activities will do through Docker commands, right? And it will be purely hands-on session, right? With the real-time assignments and projects. Here we will do some assignments because first time you will be exposed to this environment, isn't it? So you need something to test your knowledge, to bring it to the speed, to set your basic, to set your fundamentals strong. How? By practicing. So we'll give you some assignments and projects so that you can understand the things and you can practice it, right? How to create, how to start, how to stop, how to delete, how to recreate, how to get it, how to delete it, how to pull, how to push, all that thing, right? So we'll be doing it here. Then Docker layers and images and containers. So basically three things which we'll understand. The layers which will bring automation, layers which will bring networking, layers which will bring expose my application, all that thing, but all these are internal things. Then images are nothing but my application is packaged into a format which we call image. All right, everything will be in a packaged format, right? And once my application is up and running, we call container. So my application is running inside the container. And ultimately, this is the thing which we want to learn as soon as possible. So here we will start our journey. And then these containers will should be always a portable solution. That means a lightweight. That is how the push pull will work fast. If my application is very heavyweight, right? It is in TB or in let's say 100 GB. Do you think it will run in 1 minute or 10 minutes? No, it will take 2 days, 3 days. If your network fails, again it will go in the back in the loop, right? So container Docker brings a lightweight architecture, right? Normally I will talk about here, right? How, and then we will jump to here. Then you will see how the modern application, because as I said, coding is eliminated. The way we used to coding, I don't want to blame any developers. For even a small thing, they used to write 100 lines of code. For one more component, they write to 500 lines of code. For one more component, if I want to attach 2000 lines of code, because it is not needed, right? So I'm not blaming anyone, but all those practices, right, we have eliminated completely. How? That I'll tell you the different modern way of building the application using microservice based architecture. All right, and we will eliminate all. Micro means small, not big. So don't expect 100, 2000 or 10,000 line of code, right? Micro means small. So we will touch upon that part. Then advanced Docker commit and all that thing, push pull and all that thing, right? So we'll do public private and all that thing, we'll understand. Then Docker build. Ultimately here we will be building, and here I'll take example. Real-time container application I'll be building. I'll take few sample examples from Java, for example, Spring Boot. Few examples I'll take from Python, because that's the expectation that Python nowadays everything we'll do machine learning, right? If you know the machine learning or AL or AI, artificial intelligence, Python is the de facto standard of a language, programming language, right? So we'll doing few things on Python, .NET, Node.js, all that Angular, all that we'll be doing one example here. So don't worry about. I'm going to teach you in detail, right? Right from the Java, right? And Java, all these are very critical applications, not that simple. Java needs so many dependencies, pre-dependencies, environment, right? Then only Java application will up and run. But we'll do it everything hit here, and we'll do Spring Boot, all right, which is the modern thing. Then Docker volumes are nothing but storage, right? In Kubernetes, you saw persistent volume. When Docker, we say just volume, right? That's the difference between the storage in Kubernetes and the storage in Docker. But here, concept is same in both. So we'll build our fundamental to start store. Then bind mounts is nothing but shared folder or to share the data, right? All that we will see it here. And production use case will take it here with Jenkins setup and build and deployment, right? All that we will see it here. I can run even Jenkins in my container also, right? So that also we will see here, or we'll take some other examples, right? So, and then networking, right? Few things you should know in networking, right? What is subnet, what is gateway, what is IP address, right? How my application can be accessed, what is the endpoint, as I said, URL and all that thing. So here I'll be teaching you the networking part, right? Don't think networking is a different field, a different domain, right? Don't worry, right? Nowadays we should know the things, and nowadays even for designing a simple application, I should know the things. These are the basics. So here we will touch the networking. Docker has its own inbuilt module, Docker networking, right? Here we will see, and then we will deploy our application and feel of it. How my application is linked to this networking, who is giving IP address, how my application DNS name is resolved, who is my application is routed, how the application is being accessed from the outside. All that we will see over here. All right, we'll take some projects here, live projects. And then Docker Compose. Docker Compose is basically an automation layer. And automation, again, we will not do through programming. No coding, absolutely zero line of coding. We'll do it through with YAML, right? Yet another markup language, we'll be doing it here, right? So here we'll talk about YAML. And nowadays, all the modern applications, they come with YAML, whether Docker, Kubernetes, OpenShift, AWS, Microsoft, Terraform, Ansible, right? Anything. So we will be also having, and here basically it's an introduction to our microservice based architecture. Once we understand, once we start building it, once we build it, we will start deploying it. also using microservices. And Kubernetes, as I told, don't forget services. The services are nothing but these microservices. So we'll be learning here, there, everywhere, microservice, 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 microservice. All right. So here our journey will start, and we will do fully hands-on thing, right? Unless you understand it. All right. Then Docker Swarm is basically more or less it's like a Kubernetes orchestration engine. Docker also they realized. So Docker they realized little late. Kubernetes came before Docker Swarm, right? So Docker Swarm is basically an orchestration management tool offered by Docker called Docker Swarm. It's a equivalent to Kubernetes, but still it is at a very simple and low level we are using. But for high end we are using Kubernetes because Kubernetes is a very vast. It's a giant. It's a huge elephant. All right, Docker Swarm is not that problem, but Docker Swarm we can use it because it's free of cost. So I'll be creating cluster environment using Docker Swarm, and then we expose the whole microservice based application inside this cluster. So it's going to be very interesting, right? And it's a multi-node, right? Multiple machines we will take and we'll create cluster. Cluster is nothing but collection of machines. So here we will be doing and we will set up our whole production environment and all my application will be running here. So we'll deploy our applications also, right? Both multi-tier application, right? Both front and back end application will be running it. Then we deploy a full stack application, right? So we'll give you the touch of full stack application also because I'll be deploying the applications here as a full stack, right? Then rolling update, rolling back, right? All that thing we will see it here, right? So we'll do Docker. We'll prepare for DCS certification. These are the course content. Few security modules are also there, which I don't want to talk it here. We will any of those will be covered. We'll prepare you for this thing Docker and Kubernetes CKA. All right. Now, after this, it's your turn. Thank you for listening for last more than 70 minutes, I believe. We started late, but thanks for that. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
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 I am really sorry. I've taken around 20-30 minutes extra. Really sorry, but there's not an intention to finish in 1 hour. The intention is to give you as much as information. And I'm a passionate guy, right? I always have a passion, right? Though I'm doing 100 times the same thing again and again, but I always give as much as information just to digest, just to see the level of other guy. He should be able to digest the things, not for me, for other guys. All right. So this is my style. So normally I always give more information. I never hurry up on the things. So guys, you can ask me question. If I've not covered anything and you are waiting for something, probably we can discuss and we can get to your answers. Any queries, guys? Any questions?
Uh, I have one question, sir.
Sure. Please mention your name and then you can ask me question.
My name is Chidanand. Okay.
Yeah, Chidanand. Sure. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm working on a Azure cloud.
Yeah.
You are to train on AWS, right? Say if I need to perform the same thing in a Azure, right? Is there any separate session for that? Uh,
Okay. Okay. I got your question. Thanks for the question. The question is really good, right? I appreciate it. Okay. Now see, Azure, AWS, OpenShift, Oracle, IBM Cloud, many vendors are there, right? Alibaba, many are there, many new, even Nuantix also they are coming with a cloud. NetApp is also coming with their cloud, right? Many vendors are there. See, this is just a platform. Nobody can change the architecture of Docker and Kubernetes, right? That means what I mean to say, once you learn Kubernetes, the architecture will remain same, whether I'm on AWS, Amazon or Azure or OpenShift or Oracle or IBM. Architecture, nobody can change it. So whatever command line I'm doing on Kubernetes, same thing will be applicable on all the things because they cannot change the architecture. These are just the vendors, service providers. They'll be providing me the services. They cannot change or customize the Kubernetes for me that, okay, Kubernetes Azure is different and Kubernetes AWS is different. Kubernetes on-premise is different. No, they cannot change the architecture.
okay.
So it's just an environment is different, but the tool which we talk about Docker and Kubernetes will remain same. All right. Only few things here in AWS, I'll be calling my machine as EC2 instance. In Azure, you say VM or VM sets. Only that is the difference. But otherwise, the thing which we will be doing it will be applicable. And I'll be doing kube ADM thing which is applicable to all the environment, including on premises. Nobody can change the architecture. Only the installation process will be different. Azure, when you install, will be different. Only one or two steps will be different. But once you enter into Docker, once you enter into Kubernetes, the architecture will remain same. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right, but that was a really good question. Any other question, guys? Let me go on screen. So we have Arun, we have Alan, Kiran, Abhijit, Satya, Aman, Girish, Amulya, Sudhir, Kiran Kumar, Vivo, and Namesh. Any question, guys? So every day
Prashant, how many
is
days it
good.
will take this cover?
So basically, both Docker and Kubernetes will cover in 40 to 45 days.
Okay.
Sometimes 1 or 2 days go here and there. Sometimes festival we cancel and sometimes we postpone, or sometimes we have few more doubts. So 1 or 2 session here and there. But normally 40 to 45 days it will go. Every day 1 hour. If you do on weekdays, Monday to Friday, normally I prefer Monday to Saturday so that we can finish early. We can talk little more on Saturday. Sunday we take off. I go in that way. But if you are currently Monday to Friday, we'll stick to Monday to Friday. Every day 1
How
hour
many,
we go.
how many hours for each day?
1 hour.
1 hour. Okay, will
Yeah.
it cover each and everything? What you told
Everything.
here?
Everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Each and
Prashant,
everything will
I
cover.
have two doubts.
Yes, please go ahead.
One, if we are using like Kubernetes cluster version above 1.24, that we no need to like Docker, right? We have container runtime, container D or
No,
CRI-O.
no need. It will be taken care by the platform itself. You need not to worry about
Okay.
it. And you will not
Hello.
feel the difference also. Yeah, Abhijit, we
Okay.
are able to hear you. Thank you, Kiran.
Yes,
Go ahead,
sir.
Abhijit.
Yes, sir.
Abhijit, just
Sir,
one question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Please, one by
in
one.
the
Yeah.
production, yeah, in the production, we are like we use the VPN or something, and the VM machine we don't have the internet, right? So while installing, we are not able to like follow the document of the Kubernetes, and then we are not able to install. In that case, what other way there we can install with the VPN?
See, what happened in production? VPN is just to access to your network. That's it. So once you enter into the network, VPN will do authentication that, okay, trusted user should log in and all that thing. VPN is just to enter into the network, client network or your host network, wherever you want to connect. Okay, now what happens? Let's say you don't have internet, we call air gap, right? This technique we call air gap technique. Air gap, what we do, we have to download all the things, all the binaries installed on one machine. All right. And in production, we'll be accessing through that machine only. We say, normally we say jump server or bootstrap server or installation machine or anything. So all installer packages should be downloaded first. What all things are needed from Docker, Kubernetes, everything will be available on that machine, and from that machine we'll be accessing without internet. That is the only difference.
Okay, yeah, all right, got it.
Yeah, Kiran.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Satya here.
hello.
Go ahead, Abhijit.
Hi, Satya
Hello.
here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sir,
Satya.
I, uh, sir, who is allowed to speak? I or
Yeah, yeah. Abhijit,
someone
go ahead,
or
please. Abhijit, go
hello?
ahead, please. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Sir, I want to ask about two or three things which I need to include in the training. The first thing is, sir, multi master setup. And the second thing is, do we have the mesh? Do we have something covered about mesh or deployment on Kubernetes using CI/CD and the Helm charts?
Boss, we are not going to cover all these things. Service mesh, it needs another, it's a separate course, right? But English, I'll be covering that part. Not exactly the service mesh, but the concept of service mesh, I will be covering under English. Okay, I won't be installing any third-party service mesh, but I'll be covering under English. That is one. Regarding multi-master node, if you understand the one cluster master node is just a different zone, right? I won't be creating it because of the cost. As I said, one master node, 2 CPU will cost me around 100, 150. So I won't be creating all the thing, but the concept will remain same. I'll give you all the installation scripts and all that thing. We can create it. Number two. Number three, you want to deploy through CI/CD and Helm charts, right? So that
Yes, sir.
also I won't be covering you, but basics will be covered in deployment part. All the techniques, more or less, it is similar. It is similar. You can, once you know the basic for now, you can advancing. You can pick up it through anything. I'll share you all the links
So,
also for Helms and all that thing.
sir, actually, here all the things except one I need the multi-master setup because, sir, that is the hard way. I think I tried it once, but I was not successful.
Boss, project things, please don't bring it here, right? If you have
No,
some
sir,
issue and
not
you will
project
say
thing, sir. It's my learning thing, sir. I haven't using Kubernetes anywhere,
it's
sir.
not needed actually, not needed. I don't know what is your requirement, not needed for our thing.
So, sir, in the production environment, also we go with the single master node.
No, we'll go with a production cluster, but not with a multi-cluster environment. I'll create same cluster in different zone and then multiple clusters are running, right? We will not be creating
Okay,
multiple clusters in different zone. We'll not do that thing.
okay,
It's not needed.
okay, sir.
Okay, Satya, please go ahead, please. You were asking something.
Yeah, actually, I just need to know while installing and all, will be doing in the local or any like the cloud platform be using.
AWS cloud platform.
Okay,
See,
so
machines I don't have at my home. Neither we will ask Visualpath to create a separate lab because that lab will be demolished after 45 days once we done the course. But you need it. You may be writing exam after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. You need a hands-on thing. Where will you create the lab? So AWS is the best thing, and we always try to move forward. Why to go backward? Right? Everybody is moving towards cloud, so we'll also do everything on cloud, which is AWS.
sure, sure. We need to create this free account, right?
Yes, yes. You need to create
Okay,
free account. Absolutely.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya. Anybody else, guys? Any other guys? Amulya, Aman, Namesh, Arun.
Hi, my name is Sudhir.
Yes, Sudhir.
Will you be showing how to means create the cluster, Kubernetes clusters?
Yes, absolutely. See, in your
Sure.
exam, 30% weightage is given, 25% weightage is given to that installation and all that thing. And we'll be doing otherwise, where we will practice. We will create our own environment right from the scratch. There is no ready-made environment created already. We will be creating in front of you, and I'll be creating it multiple times so
Okay.
that you guys can understand it. Right? First time nobody can understand. Only 50% we can gain or 40%. So I'll be installing continuously every day. I'll create new environment. See, first time it will
Okay.
take 1 hour for me because I'll be explaining, I'll be telling you so many things. And first time you are seeing, so I'll be very, very slow. Second time I'll take only 20 minutes. Third time I'll take only 10 minutes. So in future, if you want to create your environment on seamlessly, single-handedly by yourself, you'll be creating in 10 minutes. So we'll be teaching you everything, all
Okay.
full installation process. Okay, yeah. Thanks, Sudhir.
Hi, this is Aman. Do you
Yeah,
want to
Aman.
also cover the security aspect of this?
Yes, inbuilt security is there both in Docker and Kubernetes because all the tools earlier what happened? No, security was a vendor choice thing. They used to give choice whether you want or you don't want. But now my Kubernetes is running and anybody can hack within 5 minutes, right? I can lose my application, my client data, everything I can lose it. So nowadays inbuilt security are there and we'll be covering that part as well. Right? For that, services, those services are very, very tricky thing. Though it looks like simple, but we will be using all the services for load balancing and all that thing. Then only my traffic will be routed and I'll be writing the rules also, where my traffic will go, how it will go. So everything will be covering and all these are security aspects. Basically, it's not DevOps, it's a DevSecOps because security has to be implemented while developing the solution. So that way we'll be also covering that part. And inbuilt Docker also have SecComp as a security component and Kubernetes also have SecComp and other profile securities as well. Anybody else? Alan, Arun, Amulya?
Yeah, hi, sir. Uh, what will be the time of session?
That we can check with Visualpath. Normally, I will prefer morning time only because evenings will stuck up. I have lot late evening calls with UK clients and US clients, and it go late night, and I don't want to. Right, my sessions are hampered because of my evening calls. So we'll go with morning, but we'll decide the time. It will be around 8 o'clock mostly, but we'll decide.
Sir, just wanted to continue that Bijit questions. Uh, why? I mean, this lab we don't need that multi-master node, but I mean, just help or to how to create or how to manage that
That I'll
multi-master
give you.
content.
Yeah, that I'll give you all the links, all the information. First, single lab I'll create on one zone, and then you can replicate in other zone if you want to.
Okay, okay, got it. Thanks.
So guys, we have another 2 more minutes. Any questions? Final chance. All right, guys. So it was really wonderful session this morning, and thank you for joining in. Thank you for your time and support, guys. See you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Prashant. Have
All
a
right,
nice day.
guys. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.